So I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I really want an Eida backstory, and I was really, really hoping at the end of chapter 8 that we were going to get one in chapter 9, the latest chapter. That didn't happen. I've expressed my utter disappointment, but today and yesterday, I was thinking, well, okay, hypothetically, if Eida did give her backstory here, what would I write it as? How would I want it to go? And obviously, I'm not going to do the details, even though Kami's going to hate me for that. I'm just going to speak vaguely of what I would do.
Well, I mean, I need an idea. Like, it's some level of idea.
Okay, so hey, Kami, this does go back to some of our previous conversations, so don't think I'm doing this out of spite.
I was
even though
curious
it's
if you're gonna
slightly
bring up
out of
anything
spite.
I brought up in the past, because like, I can just remind you. I'm curious. Yeah.
Well, even if you brought it in the past, I'm sure we probably would have some overlap with our thoughts, anyways. But okay, so you're gonna laugh, Kami. The very first thing I say. So Eida's backstory would start with Eida in the Rain Village. So you can see where that's going. So Naruto failed the Rain Village, so we get to see Eida struggling a lot in poverty because of that and all that. She blames whatever.
No,
The
okay.
reason
I do want to stop you right there. Eida's personality doesn't make me think she's someone who's struggled with poverty in the past. She seems like kind of a rich class girl, like the when she's at that shop. I don't know, like it wasn't like someone like a poor person who's just like, here, get whatever nice thing you want. It was more like a rich girl at the mall who already knew what class was and what she wanted. Like that's the vibe I got from her.
Well, it's
Or at least as
possible-
long as we've seen her.
I think
Like,
it would
she's
make
a-
sense that she'd be struggling, but because of her brother Daemon, who would be with her, Daemon would be the one pulling all the hard work to like protect his sister, and that could be where that comes from. And that would not only work for Eida, who would live a posh lifestyle, kind of not having to do all the hard work and appreciating her brother, but her brother's desire to protect her sister would be born out of that in the first place. I think that works perfectly. And that also, outside of the funniness of Naruto failed the Rain Village, that does narratively tie in well, in my opinion, with Boruto's story in general. Like, that just connects it all back to Naruto in the first place. It interweaves it all together to where it all is important, it all mattered. All the decisions from the past still impact the future. Regardless of the memes aside, I think it seriously would be a good idea to have at least that or something else related to that. Anyways, continuing on though, because that's the introduction of this, like literally the first couple panels. So one of the things Eida does to get by, because it's a struggle, and she's having like this internal conflict, like, man, our life sucks, man. Damon's having to pull all the hard work. I'm sorry, Damon, but like, life sucks. One thing she could do to have life not suck as much, since it does, just really emphasize how much it sucks at the Rain Village. Eida finds a guy. It could even be a hardworking guy similar to Damon, and then maybe Eida falls in love with this guy. But the reason I chose the Rain Village isn't because of Naruto originally, even though I think that works. It was actually because of Kara, which is there because of Naruto. But anyway,
that's why I thought you were gonna go, but then you wrote that.
So Amado abducts the guy that Eida loves. So Eida's no one important, neither is the guy. He's chosen because he's a hardworking guy, similar to Inaka, not Iruka. What's the kid from Land of Waves? That dude's dad?
Inari.
Similar to Inari's dad, begins with a T, not Tenzin. Tenzo?
No, Tazuna's his grandfather.
No, it's not Tazuna. What's his name? The dad.
Tazuna's the grandfather.
I know,
the
Tazuna's
dad.
the grandfather. I know.
I'm trying to remember too. I don't remember off the top of my head, to be honest.
Anyways, that guy's dad was like, he was the nail that stick out, so he was the one that got hammered in. So Amado would pick him up, maybe because same wavelength, even going back to that idea. Oh, by the way, sorry if you got mad about that, because like I know you're gonna make a theory video on that, but like, I was just randomly bringing it up, and you didn't have.
I already made the video.
Oh, okay, never mind. I didn't realize it.
I showed you the video.
Oh,
it's old.
bad.
I could remake it, to be honest. Just because it's a good topic.
Bro, the way Mello was
like,
just denying it was absolutely absurd. I didn't even get
no,
into the fact that it just works for
like,
Boruto as well.
Yeah, I was like,
like it's
it was just
obvious.
like, I'm not gonna text. It was gonna be too hard. I was like, oh yeah, also. But yeah, when he was denying, let's get into Mel. I was like, bro, when he was denying the whole, I was like, bro, it is so obvious that Jigen obviously told Kawaki about the wavelength thing. The phrasing of that sentence doesn't make sense if it's something Kawaki came up with just now. He wouldn't say it's the whole being on the same wavelength thing in reference to all these things she gets said. Like, it doesn't work.
I know. Like, he's trying to dig a hole into the possibility of the uncertainty to claim because there's some uncertainty, it can't be true. Like, we just don't know it is to be the case, so you can't use that as evidence. It's freaking clear as day, bro. And he's the one saying that he's like, not trying to win. He doesn't care about winning. It's about getting to the closest truth. What happened to that?
I know what I'm saying, bro.
But anyway, so going back to
like, bro just didn't want to accept, like, bro didn't want to hear it. Like, that's all.
No.
Like, God. And the point, the same way, I forgot what you even talked about with the same wavelength thing at this point, like why you brought it up, but like,
it was to say that Jigen wasn't necessarily going for kids. It was for someone with the same wavelength, and he doesn't know who would have the same wavelength.
And I think that's like if you Jigen specifically was targeting seemingly kids with troubled homes, like, you know, people like Kawaki. You know, that's a little bit suspicious. Why is he only targeting those people? And then you have the Kawaki dialogue. It makes it seem like Ishiki's looking for a certain type of person.
Yeah, I think Delta in the anime also got blood samples first, which could also be related to something with karma, adaptability, as well as I think the fact that Jigen usually goes for young people, and the fact that Code was like a teenager and it turned into a white karma still, even though he could have been on the same wavelength. I think maybe it just doesn't work for older people in general, except for the fact that it seems like Kara was implying that Momoshiki just could have put it on Naruto. But Naruto also isn't on the same wavelength. Yeah. I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah, they all thought Naruto or Sasuke had it. Yeah. So I don't think the age thing was the problem at all. Kote's not even that much older than Kawaki's, like maybe 3 years older. And this was like 8 years in the past, so Kote was still very young at the time, so I doubt. Like, I if think anything, Kote was probably younger than Boruto was when Boruto got karma.
I think it's like Orochimaru, to where he just like he would just prefer a younger body in general, just cause it's younger. It's like more immortal.
Yeah, because I mean, like, in looking at it from another perspective, normally karma might take, let's just say, 30 years to extract. Well, if you grab a 60-year-old man, then you know, the vessel might not be that strong in 30 years when it's 90, versus you grab a 6-year-old kid, he's 36 when the vessel's ready to go, he's in his prime. So like that's kind of the logic, I think.
And it also goes to the point, though, is potential. Like, Sasuke was a nestling Uchiha, so he was the perfect candidate.
Yeah,
like Jigen would just bring it out of them.
In terms of age, that's probably related to this strength thing. Like, you know, vessels in that sense. But in terms of the type of kid, I think that's, I mean, to me, it feels like whether they actually bring it into the story directly or not, in the background, symbolically, there's absolutely there. Like, he is doing that. Like, that is a thing. And then Momoshiki and Boruto, clear mirror image parallel thing in the movie. So it's like, in the background, this is 100% there.
Like, Mello's just acting like it's not a story that was written intentionally so.
Exactly. It's
to keep it more brief, so Eida backstory, Rain Village struggling with Daemon, falls in love with the guy. Amado abducts the guy because he's hardworking, standing out, whatever. And Eida lost the person that she loved, and she's really sad, depressed about it. And I think, obviously, it doesn't need to be said, but like that goes into her whole love ability and loss of love, and she desires love, etc.
Yeah.
So the reason, because I was thinking, how do we tie it into this chapter of why Eida wants to bring this up to Shikamaru now? We could say the reason Amado took him was to experiment on him, related to, I know this is going to be the part where it starts getting into a stretch and for future plot points, but where I was going to go with this if I was writing this, I was going to say that Amado somehow, Eida doesn't know how either, Amado somehow turned this guy into like a miniature failed version of a Shinjuu, maybe even with Code's claw marks or something. It's similar to what Victor was doing with making a junior god tree.
I would have been cool with that. Obviously,
Yeah,
that
you could even
doesn't
bring
work with
Victor
what we've
into it since
gotten.
Victor wasn't
But
relative in the manga important at all, not related to really anything. So that just makes Victor more important in the manga as well if Victor's related to that experiment or whatever.
they could use like the Hashirama cell as like a
Yeah.
means, kind of like how Victor used Hashirama cells as the replacement for the divine tree. Essentially, they could do a similar concept
Or he got 10 tail
where
cells or something.
Hashirama cell is. I mean, great. Yeah, he already has the tendrils, so I guess he doesn't need the Hashirama cell. But
Yeah, I think implanting 10 tail
yeah,
cells would be pretty catastrophic on a human body. So like I think that works. Anyway, so he awakens Rinnegan, he goes
yeah. I was
back
gonna say that's fair.
and he causes destruction in the village, but because it's a Shinjuu, you could even say that Ada could have been his target because Ada loved him. I'm sure that he had feelings for Ada or something as well. Anyways, they meet. Amado proposes Ada a plan, and this is how Ada joins Kara, and then obviously Amado would experiment on Ada as well, implementing Shibai cells, and then you get Jigen finds out, puts her in the prison or whatever, and then you catch up to present day. You could say
And
that
it is
Amado's
further.
so Ada has two reasons to join Amado here in
Yeah,
both
because
the
that
story and
further
plot.
substantiates the hatred for Amato. It's like the reason I
Yeah.
lost my lover is because of you, and the reason why I have this charm is because of you, and it didn't get me my lover back. Kind of
So
thing.
there's actually another aspect here based on Amado's perspective because he's trying to revive Akabi, but Delta doesn't turn out the same way. So here he could be using Shinju's to see if their personality could go back or revert back to his hardworking personality because the Shinju wouldn't have the same personality. It'd be its own person, which is the theme of Boruto. And so Ada couldn't love the Shinju because that's not the person she fell in love with. She fell in love with the guy not because of his looks, because of his actions. Similar, I know you're going to disagree with this, to Kawaki. Ada doesn't love Kawaki because of his looks. If anything, she thinks Boruto's cuter. She says she loves Kawaki because of the things Kawaki did
one
with
line I have in an upcoming video. I'm not
okay.
gonna elaborate.
With defeating Ishiki.
But you'll like it.
Like,
I don't mean it sarcastically.
Okay. Yeah, because like she talked about how cool Kawaki is because he defeated Ishiki, and like the reason he did it because he loves Naruto and all this stuff. Like he's just so cool because of his actions that he's done. And honestly, I'm not like Ada's fangirling or whatever, but honestly, just watching from an audience perspective, like we watched the same thing Ada did. I agree. Like Kawaki was cool in that moment. If I was a girl, I would have liked Kawaki.
I refuse to fully elaborate. But you're gonna like that. I don't know exactly when it'll be, but there's this one thing, and it just worked with something I said in relation to that scene, and it's like, unsurprisingly, that is when Ada fell in love with Kawaki, and it coincides with the greater message in the video. But I'm just saying, I think you'll like that.
So there's many angles where this goes again, because Amado's like, all right, this guy's either going to destroy the village if you disagree, and he's going to eat you because you're his target, and then that might revert him back to normal, and then I get my experiment, what I wanted to see if he goes back to normal, and maybe this is how I can revive Akabi. Or you join Kara, and I experiment on you with Shibai cells. And then she would accept because she wants to be with the guy and have the Rain Village not destroyed, and to have Daemon live as well. Because at this point, Daemon wouldn't be a super powered person. He would just be a normal kid working hard for her sister. And so out of the appreciation and respect for Daemon as well, see how I'm interweaving literally everything and every character is relevant so perfectly. So that's how that would all go. And I think I caught up to Norman. And this is obviously why she would be telling Shikamaru this now, because she's not necessarily seen the destruction that the Shinju can do, but know the Shinju are capable of destroying the village and the threat they are. She knows they're a threat because she knows that just like her lover, those Shinju aren't the good guys. She knows that's the Ten Tails who wants destruction and wants to eat people because they have targets. That's why it's important to tell Shikamaru this now.
I will say, obviously, which I'm sure you're well aware, based off what we've gotten, a lot of that probably can't happen now.
I know.
But I actually really do like, I mean, like, obviously, if we were to really do it, we'd break it down further. But, like, I like pretty much all of that idea. Like, again, a lot of it can't happen, but I would have been fine with it, with pretty much all of it. Like, the element of Amato, especially. Amato tries to do some experiment related to his plan. It relates to the Shinju scenes, the stuff we're getting now, which Ada would have knowledge on, and then he puts her in that position, like, all right, I'll propose a deal, and then blah, 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 everything. that all works very well.
And finally, getting to the future of the series, because this isn't just relative to like irrelevant for the current moment. It obviously ties into future events. If anything, it's like foreshadowing. Because why is Ada bringing this up?
Yeah.
Because she knows. Well, this ties back to Amado. Because Amado hasn't said anything, Amado has some future grand plan related to the Shinjuu. Amado does know more
and
than
like
he's
she
letting
said in
on.
chapter 70. And like in chapter 75, the whole, at the very least, those events are true thing, implying that she knows more.
And
like,
that could be also why she's in cahoots with Amado, because maybe she has hopes too that she can get her lover back in the same way. If he can turn Delta back into Akabi, he can turn her lover back into her lover. And so it would make sense that Ada would hate him and work with him. And that's the character dilemma, to where she's being pulled in two different directions. The want versus the need, just like Kawaki. Another reason she could relate to him, another reason she can love him.
Yeah. I definitely think that would have worked. Absolutely.
The part where I'm the most...
Pretty much all of it.
The part I'm the most sketchy with, because I'm taking the most liberties as a writer, is solidifying the fact that the Shinjuu are a part of Amado's grand plan. Like, I'm not defining what Amado's true intentions are, but I'm going a route to where you sort of have to go in a certain direction, to where they haven't done that at all yet.
Like you chose. You personally chose that.
Yes, that's not really a rewrite, that's just writing.
That was the point, though. You were saying, like, this is... Yeah. And, like, again, all that would be fine. Like, we don't know what's gonna be with his plan, so we don't know if it would have worked with their overall, the grand scheme of what they had in mind. But, like, just going with that plan for a motto, though, I think that would work. Like, it would have been a perfectly viable story.
Yeah. You said you agreed with most of it. Which part did you hate the most?
Well, some stuff, like, well,
I'll say with
when I say agree with most of it, that doesn't mean that any of it is a problem. My point was, like, most of it I thought was just like extra solid. Some just random stuff, like about for example, like whether or not Ada's poor and Daemon's, like, doing all the work for her. I don't know if that's necessarily necessary. That's not saying that's bad. It's just like that's not the part I'm focusing on.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's not.
So it wasn't I didn't have any problems with it. Like,
that was more so
just
to
some of it was like more
Daemon something, because this isn't Daemon's backstory. This is Ada's. So that was just tying the two together, because Ada and Daemon are sharing a story in a sense. So you can't just have Ada's story while entirely neglecting Daemon's.
Yeah. And I think it would be good to, obviously, in doing this, interweave Daemon's backstory closely, like whatever Daemon's like story, not just a plot, like where he lives, but his actual story, interweaving it very closely with this, whatever.
Because I want to emphasize, this wouldn't be my Daemon backstory. I would have a different Daemon backstory. If anything, adding to that, I would maybe have Daemon have been adopted beforehand, because just like her lover, maybe this is why she falls in love with the lover, is because Daemon was taken and she's sad about it and she's looking for someone like Daemon, and this guy is a hardworking guy just like Daemon. The fact that Daemon was taken just like the hardworking guy because Daemon was hardworking. And then you get to go into Daemon's backstory, showing what was his story from his perspective when he was abducted. He has a whole different time away from Ada where he gets to do his own thing at Kara or whatever. He also has his own backstory. He could have like a reason that he loves Himawari. He could be wishing upon a star. That could go back to like a celestial thing, because that's my biggest contention with this whole writing thing that I'm doing with this scene, is that it feels, I don't want to say pathetic or pitiful for Ada, this big grand character, to have such a normal, boring, plain backstory. But I feel like being drab,
it also just feels real. I don't know.
It feels real, but it's also an ironic part of Ada's character. But I don't know, I feel like she has to have some celestial ties in general, because otherwise everyone's, I feel like, going to be let down to a degree. Like, oh my gosh, she's Otsutsuki related somehow. If it's just the Shibai cells, I feel like that's not enough. I feel like she has to have something more, especially based on like everything she knows or everything she's not saying. Like, oh, don't reveal all your abilities, Daemon. I feel like there has to be more than just Shibai nonsense going on. More than just Amado.
They certainly could. I mean, they could go. I'm not saying whether what could or will not be the case. All of them could be the case, reasonably anyway. But I don't think it needs to be that.
I agree.
That
It
would
doesn't
just be
need
fans
to.
being stupid.
Because yeah, I agree.
Like
Because
that's just
mine
yeah.
works
That's
fine. I think mine is good, not great. But again, going into the details, Ada with her lover could be wishing upon a star that things could change or something, and that again would be tragic irony. Wishing upon a star that things could change. Technically, that star things changed, but it wasn't that what she thought she wanted. Uh, but I
yeah.
think
There's a
Damon's
lot of like
backstory works better with that, anyways. Ada has a love story. Daemon has a celestial backstory because he's taken first, anyways. But either way,
yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of symbolically they could do a lot with the celestial thing without them being actual celestial beings.
yeah,
That's just I don't think that's necessary. Like obviously it could be the case, but and I've gone through the whole like they could have ties to like Toneri's side branch. They would be more
exactly.
diluted obviously because
Yeah.
they're not white pale at Suzuki, but like they could have a background tie to that aspect of Otsuki and all, and that works, especially given that Toneri's branch literally has the Senrigan as their symbol on their flags and cloaks. So there's definitely like something to work with in that regard, but it
Yeah,
doesn't need to be there because you
because
could just do it all with Shibai too.
no, I agree because, but I don't want to do that because again, mine's blatantly ignoring that, avoiding it, taking it out entirely. It's just a scrapped idea. It's not even a retcon. It's
You're
just
looking
a
at a
dropped
human
concept.
backstory versus yeah.
You could say that Ada's parents was part of Toneri's clan and then they just moved to the Rain Village, but then why? You'd have to I guess blame it like
Yeah, I actually this was a long time. I basically said that as a like potential theory.
it's just
Like
so
it was
random
basically
though.
just saying I think this it wasn't like a prediction theory, it was like a I'm gonna give you a bunch of shit and explain why it's thematically cool and how it could work, basically.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
I just don't think it
The
goes with the
reason
story we got.
why I said was just I think it just had to do with the Civil War. This was a while ago, so but basically there was a civil war on the moon. That the timing could easily work. You just have to toss in their ages at the time when they did it.
I
But
agree.
you
It's
could
just
just tie it in with
weird.
that.
It would just be weird to me because why wouldn't Hamuro tell
Yeah.
anyone? Why wouldn't anyone else know? So many things. It's just
No, it
why
would be
wouldn't
like
they
a
tell
more
anyone?
later civil.
And why wouldn't
No,
they
it would
go
have to
to
be
the
like the
Rain Village
latest
instead of
Civil War
anyone?
because Toneri was a child
Why would
with
they
his
move?
dad and other members of the clan still before Toneri was the last one left at the end.
It feels like the moon
So
stuff has to
there,
be something lost to time. Like it's a story of the ancients. The ancients all had to have died out, and then it's a story being uncovered years later. Like in Dead Space, it's like a planet cracking and an ancient evil they unleashed that they had no idea of. Like it's some crazy thing like that. It'd have to be something like that. Or even this sounds silly, but even in Sonic, the lost origin of the Chow and the origination of it. Like even with Naruto, going back to the Kaguya backstory, regardless of the actual backstory, the explanation we get from Madara in the first place felt different. Everything else that comes after aside, that right there is all they needed to do. That's the origin of chakra, the origin of the world. We didn't get anything like that before. Yeah. So it's similar to that. Outside of Kaguya herself, or the future events, including the war.
yeah.
Yeah. So many more examples,
But getting
yeah.
back to Ada's backstory, so moving away from that, in terms of like, I guess more realistic, in terms of like, like obviously we haven't gotten her backstory. In terms of when the earliest, I think at this point to get it would probably be when Bug attacks her, somewhere in that area.
Assuming that happens.
Could easily be a time to do it. Assuming that happens, yeah. I feel like that just seems like the earliest, because otherwise, I don't know what, off the top of my head, I don't know what scene would come up to make her just start talking about her backstory or showing it. But I could see it working, interweaving itself during the Bug thing. Whether it's like Bug starts just telling her like bringing up her past or something. There's just a lot of ways they could go about it. I feel like that'd be like the earliest. Otherwise, if it's not like then and that's not soon and that it does or that it doesn't happen, I don't know when else it would happen. It would just have to happen. I wouldn't be able to predict it now. I definitely think Eida should have either had a situation where she lost the lover, like in yours, or like Kawaki, she just grew up without love at all. Like she was emotionally abused. That could be why she relates to Kawaki
but
so
it doesn't
much.
seem like
and
she
that's why, like,
was.
there's gotta be a reason why she wants love so much. She either lost the love or she never had it. Just like Naruto and Sasuke. She either lost it like Sasuke or she never had it like Naruto.
But I agree, like you said, she has like a higher elite status, almost like a pompous nature. Like she was spoiled and privileged. So I think to some degree, she can't just have a tragic backstory that was like emotionally damaging in that way. It would have to be some
and I agree with that.
self versus self instead of self versus world. So
it could be like one of those,
like an internal conflict instead.
Yeah. So in the case of, I don't want it to be like Boruto's, where it's like she has like rich parents who don't love her or something, because I feel almost, I don't know how I'd do it, but it could just like it's in some manner or another, she just didn't have the love she wanted. We know that.
In screenwriting, there is a difference between conflict and complications. I think this would be perfect if Kawaki's backstory is conflict itself, and Eida's backstory is complications itself. It's like the yin and yang. You need both, and they are like the halves of the other whole.
Yeah.
Immortal, feel free to interject.
In terms of location,
so
the Rain Village just works because of the Kara tie-in. But that being said, that's not the only place Kara existed in, so it could easily be anywhere and just have Kara be involved. The main advantage with the Rain Village is it's a place we know from Naruto, which is nice. It feels like a callback to Naruto. So I agree, the Rain Village. It doesn't work in terms of the high class thing, though.
In terms of I think it works in terms of the high class because again, she could just be spoiled because of Daemon, or even because of her parents, if you want to say celestial backstory. The other world.
Maybe she's like the one rich family. Maybe she's like the one rich family in the Rain Village.
Which that completely changes, but that also works for an entirely different reason. Like Amado wants the leader of the Rain Village. Like the elite of the elite. There you go.
Yeah, like he wants the money.
But Immortal, thoughts? Do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, I think it would also make sense for Eida to have a rich backstory because of how the way she's presented in the story when she was first like introduced. Like she doesn't seem like a person who would struggle with anything in general, because she doesn't really want to get herself dirty by like fighting, because she thinks fighting is just barbaric for her. She doesn't really want to.
Yeah, she's definitely not doing yard work either. She's not like doing construction work. Like
that's why I think this would work.
I think it would make sense.
But yeah, go ahead.
But with Daemon, he wants to brawl. He's pretty much all for the smoke.
Exactly.
He does not care who he has to run the fade with.
So Daemon would gladly accept Daemon.
This is a little bit. I'll admit this is a little bit silly, but I think it can work. So I got the idea. I was thinking of Hunter x Hunter when they got money doing Heaven's Arena. What if Damon's way of like providing for the family was he was like a fighter? That's why he loves to fight. He always wants to fight people. Like this, like what he did.
Like his dad was probably a fighter, and he probably looked up to him.
I would like that.
And probably that's the reason why he likes fighting.
Yeah. The only problem is I still like the fact that
like you get to see his paths as a fighter, like like whether he started off crappy or whatever, it doesn't really matter. I don't know.
But I also like
silly, but I think it works.
So I think it's good for Daemon to just naturally like fighting, but I think again, part of the reason he could naturally like fighting could also stem from or be bolstered by, amplified by the fact that he can protect his sister, so he would want to take all of Eida's fights for her anyways, as well as to protect his sister. So I think both those just tie in together.
Yeah, it could also be a
to each
thing
other.
where like he got into a lot of fights protecting his sister for whatever reason. Like,
Exactly. But he would want to fight
yeah,
and
there's a lot of
protect his
ways to
sister.
approach it.
Yeah.
But speaking of fights, like if he does end up fighting Bug, are they going to make it towards where Damon just outright wins against Bug?
Yeah.
I think they should at least. In my opinion, Damon should. I don't think they should kill Bug just like that. Like, I think we could keep him around to do more with him. But I think if Bug fights Damon in the near future, Damon should unquestionably win. Just like Boruto versus Kawaki, Boruto versus Code, Boruto versus Mitsuki. Like, Damon should just straight up win. Better than Boruto did, too. And then later on, you could have another fight where Damon is pushed hard. You don't need a skip to Damon losing. I think it'd be better to slow it down, have more of a progression, but you could have Jura be a guy where Damon actually has to try with, or at least try harder or loses or whatever. But like have Bug be the one that Damon just stomped.
Yeah,
like,
Damon doesn't ever have to lose. It's like Beerus and Whis in Dragon Ball, or like Gojo.
he doesn't need to, yeah.
Yeah, like Gojo didn't lose. He was sealed because of emotional turmoil. That wasn't a loss. You could say it's a loss in American culture, but he wasn't defeated. Versus Sukuna, that's different, so I'm not counting that. There's more examples.
But that's also like late series, you know, by comparison. Exactly. So like if that happens to Damon, Damon could be like Gojo in that he's just not there, regardless if he's sealed or whatever, or he's just hanging out in the apartment and he doesn't actually lose for a very, very long time. That's totally fine.
It could also be like Saitama.
I don't think
from
Damon
One
should
Punch Man.
lose for a while.
I'd be fine with Damon losing based on conditions of a fight as a gag. For example, if for whatever reason Damon was fighting in a tournament setting and he got ringed out because he got so serious that he didn't even like consider, or similar like Naruto versus Konohamaru from the tuning exams, to where he just uses like it's a gag in that case. It's a gag loss. I'd be fine with that. Again, he's like similar to like Saitama from One Punch Man in that case, because I think Saitama loses a fight, quote unquote loses, because of a reason like that, even though he would obviously win and everyone knows it. The audience members know it, but like in universe, they don't realize it, which is why it's funny.